So hello and welcome to another walkthrough and setup guide here at the Le Mans 24-hour circuit and the vintage version. I'm going to be driving the 935 78 year. Obviously looking at its top speed here, 220 mile an hour, we're going to smash that. But 800 horsepower, absolute beast of a car. Let's have a look at the tune. So a really important aspect to this tune was definitely the tyres. Always going to be running a soft tyre. I don't even think there's many races today, even online, that are running a hard tyre. Unless it's a long race, the soft tyre just offers so much more grip. Moving to tyre pressure, again another really important aspect of this setup. Because we're running such high speed down the back straight, we're just trying to get as much speed as possible out of the tyre. So running a harder pressure just seems to decrease the contact patch so that we can run a higher top speed and the car's just really floating along. Same again at the rears, just slightly less pressure, just to obviously try and increase that rear grip. Looking at the brake pressure, after the long straight there's a really serious braking area, and this is just set at this pressure just so I don't lock out through the braking phase of the corner. Again, the brake bias is just to help turn the car through this section as well, just running a more rearward brake pressure than I'd normally use. Brake ducting, just running this as low as possible really to get away with the drag factor. A tiny bit of cooling, but it's not a massive braking circuit, and there's plenty of long straights for the brakes to cool down. Rear downforce, obviously running no rear downforce at all, trying to get that maximum speed down the back straight. And the longitudinal weight bias is definitely more towards the rear, just to try and get more traction on the rear end. Caster angle, as always, running as much caster as I can, trying to get that benefit of the camber during the turning. Camber as little as possible really, just enough to get the car to turn in, but not too much in order for it to affect the straight line speed. Ride height as low as we can go. Again, just trying to reduce that drag factor and get the weight of the car, centre of gravity as low as possible, and the front springs just as high as possible, just to try and get the turning response from the front end. Camber angle, zero camber, just to try and get maximum traction to aid the acceleration. And again, as low as possible on the rear end, and just one click from its hardest setting at the rear. Moving to the steering ratio, I'll not cover this again. I'm using the McLaren GT3 wheel, so obviously I'm wanting to not cross my hands any more than 180 degrees on the wheel, so I'm not letting go of the wheel at any time at all. Toe angle at the front, just enough again to get that front end response, not wanting to run too much so as we're scrubbing speed. And the anti-roll bars set about halfway, just to try and aid in some of that mid-corner understeer. Toe angle at the rear is none at all. Again, just I don't want to be causing any friction from the rear tyres, just want pure acceleration, and the anti-roll bars as soft as it's going to go, just to try and reduce any mid-corner oversteer at the rear. The dampers, the bump start, I've tried this at 10, 15 and 20, quite happy at number 10. The car bottoms out very little. And the slow bump all the way down these, I've just added them as maximum as they would go, and then just 2 notches down, so quite a stiff setup. That goes for the rear as well. And the bump transition is as far right as it'll go, so it's running a really hard bump transition, so that the transition between slow bump and fast bump is quite a long time. I don't know how long it is in time itself, but it's at its longest, just to try and run a softer setup really through the transition phase. No fuel on board, and the boost pressure as maximum as we can get, just to try and get as much power as we can. No air restrictions, and the radiator we managed to get a full lap, just getting 1% of damage towards the end of the lap. And the engine braking is just purely to try and help the car turn in a few of the tighter spots. The gear ratio is absolutely paramount for this tune, and each gear really does have a very specific reason as to why it's set where it is. Mostly the two lower gears are to try and get the acceleration out of the corners, and the third gear is to try and maintain a good sort of gap between second gear and fourth gear, so it's not too much of a struggle as we pull into third gear. I think the car does pull a little bit better. This is the corner coming out of the long straight, you can see in the background. And if you manage to use the 7:9:3 ratio, you will get a much better pull up that hill. But overall, I think 767 does a better job throughout the whole lap. And the fourth gear, this is purely to allow us to reach the top speed that we end up reaching. If you set this a little bit lower, you'll never actually reach the top speed that we get. There isn't any traction control on ABS. Moving to the differential, a total change for me on this one. Decided to move away from using the clutch LSD for this tune and just concentrated on using the spool. Out and out power, it's either on or off, works quite nicely for the V8 that we used in our last tune. Obviously there was no adjustment on that car, but it works quite well here, so I thought I'd give it another try. So let's get into going around the circuit and now see what the lap's got to hold. So you see at the start of the lap, we just get control there of the car, and it was one of my real gripes about this circuit, where you got control of the lap during the event. And a lot of the time I ended up reversing all the way back to about the 200-yard board and setting off from there. But fortunately on the lap that I posted it, you actually got the control of the car a little bit further back. So I just followed that into the corner, but it is quite beneficial to get to back all the way up to the 200-yard board and take a run through this corner. You get a much faster line and you can get into second gear before the corner and you just carry a lot more speed up the hill. So starting the lap, we're going to try and take as little curve as possible and just run the car out wide, up into second gear. Don't even need your foot over the brake pedal. You can just relax and accelerate as much as you can, all the way up to the motul board, and then popping into fourth gear around there. I'll just slow it down a little bit here. I've missed it again. The 200-yard board back there, that's where you want to be braking at. Down into third gear and again into second gear. Now at the end of this video I've added another replay that just shows all my footwork that's going on throughout this lap. One thing you want to be aware of is a technique on releasing the brake pedal, and you're just really easing off the brake pedal to keep the car nice and steady, hugging this left hand side here. So we're going to take a nice line from here, sort of coming across the corner to carry as much speed through the corner as possible. Another little dab of the brake pedal in second gear just to get the car to turn, and then straight on the power as soon as you can, just drifting it slightly. Up into third gear for a tiny spell, and then just before the 100-yard board, braking nice and heavily and then easing off that pedal again just to get the car to turn, hugging this corner as much as you can and letting the car run wide out of here before this massive long straight. Remember, 228 is the top speed of this car? No, it's not. Not by a long shot. If you're looking to set a world record and doing 228, well, we're just going to smash that right now. The way we've got the car set up, the cambers, the tyre pressures, the zero downforce, we're going to be hitting 236. Boom! Little flick of the wrist, carry as much speed as you can. And I'll start braking here a long way before we need to, just to make a few points here. Remember the 300-yard board, because that's going to be your signal to get ready to brake. And just before this pylon on the left hand side, this is where we're going to start braking, about here. Heavy on the brake pedal, dropping it down to fourth straight away, straight away, and then slowly down to second, and then just easing off in the last section. We're going to be bouncing on the pedal here, trying to force the car to turn turn in nice and early and get on this corner really and drift around the corner. I really do cock this up on my fastest lap, and by no means was that the fastest way to take that corner. I'll just add in right now, this is how you take the fastest corner. So yeah, well, you've seen how fast you get around that corner and just how much the ghost disappears in that rear view mirror. Unfortunately I didn't nail it on my fastest lap, and I'd have liked to have seen a 2.54. But anyway, we'll carry on the lap. Don't know where we've picked up all that engine damage, but must have been through slowing the car down. Anyway, we're hard on the power, and like I mentioned, it's just about here, the third gear ratio that I've got set. If you use the 393, I think it was, you get far better acceleration up this hill. But using the 367 or 363 that we've got on, I think it's just an overall better gear for the lap. So right the way up, we're going to go into fourth gear. And just after this 200-yard board, we're going to be braking really hard, down into third, down into second. I'm just going to slide through this corner. You can take a little bit of curve there, and then just braking hard again, down into first gear, drifting through here. You can take this corner quite nicely, but only if you're drifting. It seems to be if you run it just nice and clean through here, you get a time penalty. But if you're drifting through here, you don't get a penalty for some reason. Maybe it thinks you're out of control and you don't get it. So running wide, accelerating as best you can, up to second gear, then braking down into first gear, bouncing on that brake pedal, trying to get the car to drift. Get it, I think I get it absolutely nailed on the flying lap, and just the best way to take that corner. It's back on the power, accelerates in nice and hard, all the way up to fourth gear. Using all those revs, take it right the way up to the red line. You need to really position your car on this corner here, just to take it. It's a blind apex, or blind crest. And then we're just going to take a little release of the accelerator here, and then a little dab of the brake pedal to turn the car back on the accelerator. You'll be in fourth gear all the way through there, there's no drop to third. And then just as we approach the 200-yard board, heavy on the brake pedal again, not too far over the white line, down into second gear, and just really trying to nail this without getting a time penalty and running on the track limits. I managed to nail it perfectly on my fastest lap, but this was an absolute Achilles heel. I could have been running very close to a 54 and I don't nail this corner. So nailing this corner is an absolute benefit to the lap, but certainly something I think anyone would struggle with to get it absolutely perfect. So thanks for watching again, guys. Please stick around for the video to see what's going on with my feet. And if you've enjoyed the video, please like and hit that subscribe button. Just hit it, just do it now. Come out the video and press the subscribe button. Really just trying to build that subscriber base and get a few people interested in the channel. Hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. Stay around for the replay afterwards as normal, and thanks for watching.